Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite paranormal romances. So I've been meaning to make this video for a long time, mostly because my love of romance kind of started, it got its roots in a paranormal romance. I have been reading paranormal romance ever since like 9th grade, and honestly I don't think I read a single non-paranormal romance until after high school. So most of my formative years I was reading paranormal romance, whether that was vampires or angels or werewolves or whatever. I still have such a love for paranormal. I don't read nearly enough of it now, but I still have, I feel like, some really good recommendations for you guys. Books that mean so much to me because I have loved them for so long, and some recent discoveries. So as I was like curating this list, I figured out that a lot of my recommendations actually kind of tied back into books that I had read from my young adult years. So I figured that I would do some comparisons for you guys. So if you like this certain YA book, you will probably like this certain paranormal series, and I stand by that. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first series I'm recommending to you guys is a series, and I'm doing these in an order of like that I like the least to the most. So the first series I'm recommending to you guys is one that is not without issue, but I do enjoy, and I actually just picked this up either the end of last year or the beginning of this year, I can't remember exactly, but it is the Guild Hunter series by Nalini Singh. I really enjoy these books, and I think they kind of re-sparked my love for paranormal and kind of have opened my eyes to the fact that there's a lot of paranormal series that I have just not gotten into yet. So this is a recommendation for people who like Hush Hush or Buffy. I know Buffy's not YA, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. The first book is about a vampire hunter named Elena, and she is contracted out by an archangel to go and seek this person and capture them / kill them. In this society, we live in a society. Angelic creatures spawn vampires. So if you want to become a vampire, you cannot just simply be bitten by another vampire. You have to contact your local archangel and be like, yo homie, I want to live forever. And they either agree or say fuck no. You have to petition them. They can only allow a certain amount of people to become vampires each year. And in exchange for becoming a vampire, you have to live in servitude for a couple of years to the archangel who turned you. That's kind of where vampire hunters come in. They're not really hunters, they're more like bounty hunters. They will wrangle vampires who have broken their contracts to their archangels. Anyway, that's Elena's job, but she is contacted by this sexy archangel of New York, this head honcho motherfucker, and he's like, hey, I need your help. I heard you're the best of the best. And she's like, okay, sure. And that's kind of where the series starts. I've only read the first book, which is also why it's lower down on my list. I think it might grow in favorability for me as I continue with the series. The first main couple in the series is Raphael and Elena, but not all of the books follow their story. I think there's like 3 to 5 books in their story, and they're kind of spread throughout the series, but there are other creatures and other hunters, I think, that get their own love story. So I'm very interested to see kind of where the series goes. I think the lore in this is probably what has it lower down on my list. It's a little bit more confusing, in my opinion, than just like your traditional vampire story, but I do think it's a nice, fun twist on your traditional vampire story. So I do recommend these. The next series that I recommend is the Dark Hunter series by Sherilyn Kenyon. I really adore this series, and sometimes I forget how much I enjoyed it because I feel like I read all of the books back to back really quickly. I didn't finish the entire series, but the books that I did read, I read them all back to back. This is a really good series for people who are a fan of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and people who just really enjoy Greek mythology. The basis of the lore, I guess, behind these books, I keep saying lore. Dark Hunters are essentially these immortal creatures who were created by the goddess Artemis to battle daemons or demons that kill humans in order to live beyond their 27th birthday. So these demons are beautiful and almost kind of like immortal, but they die a terrible death at their 27th birthday unless they steal the soul of a human being. So these hunters are supposed to go out and kill demons. That isn't to say that this is the entirety of the society. It's not just like humans and hunters and daemons. There are werewolves, there are dream hunters, there's all kinds of crazy shit in this series that just kind of like gets thrown at you as you keep reading, but the basis of it is kind of based on Greek mythology, and some of the later books really dive into that mythology, which I personally found interesting, even though I don't have a super big interest in mythology. And anyway, these hunters, since they're in service to Artemis, they're not allowed to, how you say, smash. So anyway, the series is about how each dark hunter finds his lady love and kind of goes against Artemis and has to find a way to kind of break his contract with Artemis. So it's an interesting series. There's a lot of shit that happens. Don't think there's a single book in this series that I had read, because I've read 9, I think, of the 18 books. There's not a single book in the series that I would be like, don't fucking fucking read that. I really like these. The romance is good, the smut is good, every couple, every pairing I thought was like well done. It's a good time. All right, this next series. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of it, and if you're a big fan of ACOTAR or Fae, I think you need to give this series a try. It is the Fever series by Karen Marie Moning. This is about a girl named Mac who is trying to find out how her sister died in Ireland. Her sister was studying abroad. She dies a death and no one really knows what happens to her, so Mac decides she's going to travel to Ireland and try to figure out what happened to her sister. The thing that I really like about this series is the fact that in the first book, the tone is so different from most paranormal books that I've read. Mac is a, how do you say, grade A fucking dumb ass. She is not intelligent. She does not have most of the characteristics you would expect from a paranormal protagonist. Most, I feel like paranormal protagonists are super talented, like they're these badasses. They have been fighting crime their whole lives. Like they've got some sort of ability. Mac is not like that. Mac is blonde. She's kind of a Barbie, and she never thought that she'd be in a position where she has to go and seek her sister's killer or try to find out what happened to her sister. But she ends up in Ireland and she ends up meeting this bookseller who seems to kind of know things. Not necessarily about her sister, but about the world of Ireland and Fae and kind of what's happening. Mac also finds out that she is actually a seer. She can see the Fae creatures, and shit kind of happens from there. I will say with this series, only read the first 5 books. I did not personally read beyond them because I heard that they kind of decrease in quality, and the story actually ends up wrapping up very nicely in the 5th book, so you don't have to read beyond that. I just really enjoy these books. I remember reading them very quickly back to back because I was just so into the story. I liked Mac. I liked Jericho, who is the bookseller that helps her figure out who she is and helps her find out who killed her sister. Overall, this is just a really solid series. Again, I'm recommending it to people who like Fae because these Fae are not nice, kind of like the Fae in the ACOTAR series, and I just also feel like the tone and the setting just reminds me so much of ACOTAR, so if you're into that kind of thing, would highly recommend this series. As we're getting down to my top 2 favorite series, and I'm so excited to share them with you guys. The first one should come as no surprise to anyone who has watched any videos on my channel. I'm one of those people that really doesn't enjoy recommending the same book over and over. I want to give you guys fresh recommendations, but this one just could not be avoided because it's so fucking perfect, and it is the Green Creek series by TJ Klune. This series I recommend for people who enjoy the Raven Boys or werewolves or magical realism in general. This is a series of standalone romances. It's about a family of werewolves essentially, so one book's about one werewolf, one book's about another werewolf. Surprise, surprise. It's queer, its own voices, and it is so beautiful. The way that TJ Klune is able to convey emotion, to convey people's pasts is unparalleled in my personal opinion. I think a sign of a truly good storyteller is whether or not you were able to have things that have happened in the past really affect your characters and it not feel cheap, and for me to understand why a character is behaving the way that they do. And I think that he does such a masterful job at getting you to really care about these characters and to care about their past and to care about where they're coming from and where they're going, and I could go on forever. First book is my absolute favorite of the whole series. It's called Wolf Song. It's about a boy named Ox and a boy named Joe and how they fall in love, and it is fantastic. It is going to be, I believe, a 3-book series, and I think there's a novella as well. Okay, this last series. This is my favorite book series of all time, and I know that's kind of a bold claim because I have a lot of favorite series, but truly speaking, I really do think that in terms of romance in general, the entire romance genre, the Black Dagger Brotherhood series is my favorite series of all time, and this series is for lovers of Twilight and lovers of Vampire Academy. Let me count the ways in which I love this series. It came out around the same time as Twilight, and I think I picked these up in like 9th grade for the first time. I really had no fucking clue what they were. I just knew like vampires. I wanted something that was romantic like Twilight, but maybe just a little bit different, and I couldn't find anything. I had read, I felt like, everything in the YA genre, so I picked these up. They did not disappoint. I didn't realize how sexy they would be because I was like 15, but I'm glad that I picked them up. So basically the books are about an ancient warrior race called the Black Dagger Brotherhood who are meant to protect the vampire race from extinction against their mortal enemies. The mortal enemies are humans that have kind of gotten in league with the devil and have kind of turned demonic as a result. The task of the Brotherhood is to kill the Lessers because the Lessers are trying to kill the vampires. At the beginning, the Brotherhood is kind of barely functional. They don't really have a very good leadership team in place, and they're not really friends. But as the series carries on, you see their kind of unbreakable bond and how they come together and their character growth as friends, but you also see them fall in love with their respective lady or male counterparts. That's pretty fucking dope. I feel like there are not a lot of paranormal romance series that actually end up doing a successful job at having male-male romances, but J.R. Ward, she really did that. There's just, you know, there's so much to love here, really. I love the Brotherhood because they're vampires, they're tall, they're sexy, they're buff, they're hairless. Yes, seriously, these characters are characters that have really stuck with me, I think, compared to a lot of paranormal series, which can fall into tropes when it comes to characters. I feel like the characters in most paranormal can fall into buckets, you know? Badass female, the soft man, like that's not really the case. I feel like in J.R. Ward series, none of the female or male characters ran together for me. I could name all of the couples in this series for you. One thing to be aware of though is the slang. If you were not familiar with early 2000s slang or early 2000s hip hop, you may not love this book, but if you're expecting it and you roll with it, you will be rewarded for your efforts with smut, because the smut in this series is seriously unparalleled. I don't think that there are books out there that do as well of a job as JR does. She takes it to places that are pretty great. I really do stand by this series. I have read almost all of the books and I have loved all but one of the 14 books that I've read. It's good shit. It's really good shit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this gave you guys some ideas. If you've never tried paranormal romance, maybe you'll give it a try. If you have read any of these books, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you have any paranormal romance recommendations, also leave those in the comments down below. I'm always looking for a new, sexy, smutty vampire read. I hope you guys are having a good week. I love you all, and until next time.